I swear, the moment those words left her mouth, something inside me just snapped. She stood there at the end of our bed, zipping up that red suitcase I'd given her last Christmas. She was tossing in a pair of heels I hadn't seen in years, along with lingerie I didn't even know she owned. Her lips curled into this smug little grin, like she was playing the villain in some cheesy soap opera, and she wasn't even trying to hide it anymore. "You can't stop me," she said, her voice barely more than a whisper. "I'm going to impress him." My heart didn't just drop, it shattered into pieces on the way down. I couldn't speak. Hell, I couldn't even move. I just stood there in the doorway, frozen like some ghost, watching my own wife pack for a week with the guy she'd been sneaking around with. The silence between us wasn't calm, it was thick, heavy, loud with betrayal. Her name's Carol Stewart. Yeah, the same woman I married 5 years back in front of 200 people, making promises about forever and loyalty. I still remember how her voice cracked when she said, "Till death do us part." Back then, I thought it was nerves. Turns out, it was a warning. "Who is he?" I finally forced out. She didn't even look at me. Just kept folding up some silk nightgown I couldn't remember her ever wearing. "You don't know him," she said, cool as ice. "He's better for me. Ambitious. Full of life. Not stuck in," she paused, then repeated, "routine." Routine. That word landed like a punch straight to the gut. I wanted to shout, break something, demand an answer. But I didn't. I just stood there, helpless, like a man watching his house burn down and not being able to do a damn thing about it. She acted like none of it mattered. Like cheating made her some kind of hero. Her confidence didn't come from being right. It came from knowing I wouldn't stop her. She figured I'd let her walk out, crumble, and drown in the dark. I kept trying to piece together how the hell we got here. That's when the memories came flooding in, all the red flags I ignored. The sudden gym obsession. The new perfumes lining the bathroom shelf. The so-called girls' nights that ended with her stumbling in at 2 a.m., giggling like a teenager. How she always kept her phone face down. How she dodged every conversation about work. How she stopped looking at me like a husband and more like some guy who just paid the bills. There was a time when Carol would light up the second I walked into her room. Now, I was just background noise. She stopped mid-pack, held up a lacy pair of underwear, and shot me a look with those green eyes I used to get lost in. "You're overthinking this," she said. "It doesn't have to be a whole big dramatic thing, Steve. Just let me live a little. Live a little. I'm the one who's been putting food on the table. I'm the one who bought that suitcase. Paid for the car she's about to drive to the airport. Even the bed she lied to me in, my money. And now she's telling me she needs to live a little by jetting off with some guy I've never even laid eyes on? You really want to throw all this away?" I asked, my voice low and shaking. "You sure about this? About us?" She gave me another one of those smirks. "There is no us anymore." And with that, she zipped up the suitcase, brushed past me like I was a stranger, like I'd never meant a damn thing to her. That night, I couldn't sleep. I sat on the couch, a bottle of bourbon in my hand, trying to wrap my head around how fast my whole life went to hell. I kept seeing her face, that smug look, the way she twisted the knife and smiled doing it. No tears. No explanations. Not even a fake apology. And that was just the start. Because what I uncovered the next morning, all the stuff she hid behind those screen-down phones and fancy perfumes, would send me right over the edge. I hadn't just watched my wife walk out. I was about to find out just how long she'd been gone in her mind. The next morning, the house was so quiet it hurt. I woke up with a pounding headache, too much bourbon, barely any sleep. Her side of the bed was still perfectly made. She hadn't even pretended to lie beside me before disappearing. I don't even know what made me do it. Maybe instinct, maybe spite. But I wandered over to her nightstand, opened the drawer, and there it was. A second phone. Not her usual iPhone with the floral case and that Grand Canyon selfie of us as the lock screen. This one was cheap, beat up, a burner, and it was buzzing quietly, like it was still holding on to secrets just waiting to spill. No password. Like she figured I'd never find it. Or maybe she just didn't care if I did. All the messages were right there. Not just a handful, dozens, maybe even hundreds. Every single one from some guy named Ryan. Ryan Williams. Worked with her in marketing. Married, too. Had a couple of kids. Somehow, that part made it all sting even worse. I scrolled through text after text, each one making my skin crawl. Stuff like, "Can't wait to see you in that red dress," and "He doesn't deserve you. I'll treat you like a queen." Then it got uglier. "Bring that lotion I like. I want to taste every inch of you." My throat tightened until it was hard to breathe. I felt the heat creeping under my skin, ready to blow. I chucked the phone across the room, heard it smack the wall and crack. Didn't make me feel any better. Nothing could have. Still, I picked it up again and kept scrolling, like I couldn't help myself. Like I needed to drown in the wreckage. There were pictures too, mostly of her. Mirror selfies taken right there in our bathroom. Even a video, shot in the guest room. The same damn guest room her sister used to stay in whenever she visited. I glanced at the black TV screen and caught my reflection, pale, hollow-eyed, rage pumping through me like a second heart. She'd turned our home into their playground. Treated me like I wasn't even there. No, worse. Like I didn't matter one bit. I didn't send her a long message. Just one word. Why? No answer. Around noon, my phone buzzed. It was Paul, an old college buddy. One of those guys who always noticed more than he let on. Hey man, this is kinda weird, but I saw Carol at the airport earlier. She wasn't alone. He sent a photo. Blurry, but clear enough. Carol in tight jeans and sunglasses, walking arm in arm with Ryan. Her hand resting on his chest. Laughing. Not a trace of guilt on her face. No shame. Nothing. I called her. Straight to voicemail. Then came a text. I told you not to make this messy. Please don't embarrass yourself. Embarrass myself? I felt the rage building, boiling over until I couldn't even think straight. I stormed into the closet, grabbed my old gym duffel, and started tossing clothes into it. Not because I was running away. I was going to find Ryan. I knew where he lived. I'd driven Carol over there months ago when her car was in the shop. She said she was meeting a coworker to plan an office retreat. That coworker? Ryan. Of course it was. I pulled into his neighborhood a little after 2. It was the kind of place that looked like a damn postcard. Perfect lawns, smiling families, American flags on the porches. The kind of neighborhood that pretends bad things don't happen. It made me sick. His wife opened the door. Diane. She had a soft smile, but her eyes were tired. The kind of woman who probably baked cupcakes for PTA meetings and stayed up late waiting on a husband who didn't bother coming home. I didn't want to wreck her world, but she had a right to know. I'm Steve, I said, somehow keeping my voice calm. We need to talk. It's about your husband. And my wife. Her smile vanished like I'd knocked the wind right out of her. We sat in the living room, both of us shaking like we were made of glass. She poured 2 glasses of wine with trembling hands. I showed her the messages. She didn't cry. She just stared at the screen in silence, like deep down she already knew but hadn't wanted to face it. Then she stood up, walked over to a drawer, and pulled out a receipt. A hotel in Miami. 2 guests. Ryan's name printed plain as day. They weren't even trying to cover their tracks. They used their real names, booked the room without a second thought. That's when it hit me. They weren't afraid of being caught. They didn't care. Truth was, they'd already moved on in their heads. Diane and I were just leftovers. She quietly excused herself, said she needed a minute. I stayed where I was, gripping the wine glass like it was the only thing keeping me together. From the kitchen, I heard her. Heavy, broken sobs you can't fake. Real, gut-deep pain. I didn't go in. I couldn't. I was too far gone myself. All I could see was Carol's smug face, her hand on that suitcase, and those words echoing in my mind. You can't stop me. I should have seen it. The signs were all there, plain as day. But I missed them. Or maybe I just didn't want to believe she'd do something like this. I drove home without a word. Didn't bother with music. Just the sound of the engine and my own breathing, my hands gripping the steering wheel so hard they turned white. I didn't even realize until I caught my reflection in the rearview mirror. I looked like somebody who'd just come back from war. Maybe I had. The house felt too quiet, too spotless. Her scent still hung in the air, faint, but stubborn. The kind of ghost that sticks around just to haunt you slow. I went straight to the kitchen, grabbed the last of the bourbon, and poured it into a glass. No ice, no hesitation. I sat down at the same table where we used to eat dinner, laugh over dumb stuff, dream up vacations we never took, and talk about kids we never ended up having. I didn't taste the bourbon. I just needed the burn. Then I opened my laptop. I don't even know why. Maybe I needed more pain to really feel the full weight of it. Maybe I just couldn't look away until I hit bottom. I logged into the cloud drive we used to share. She must have forgotten it was still hooked up. Carol never liked cloud backups anyway, said they were too techy. But she'd left it running. And there it was, an entire album, like a sick vacation scrapbook. Her and Ryan. Beach shots. Selfies in hotel rooms. Him feeding her dessert. Her kissing his cheek. His hands snug around her waist like she belonged to him. But one photo hit harder than all the rest: Carol in that blue bikini I bought her for our anniversary trip to Nassau. She never wore it with me, said she didn't like how it fit. But there she was, posing in it for Ryan, grinning like she didn't have a care in the world. The caption? Impressing him just fine. That was the last straw. I slammed the laptop shut so hard it cracked in the corner. Then I stood up, grabbed one of the plates, our wedding china, no less, and hurled it against the wall. It shattered, bits of porcelain flying everywhere. And for a split second, it felt good. Like something heavy inside me finally snapped loose and took off. Then the front door creaked open. I froze. She strolled in like she still owned the place, dragging that red suitcase behind her like it was any normal day. No guilt. No shame. Just that damn smirk again. Flight got canceled, she said, kicking off her shoes without a care. Storms in Miami. I didn't move. Just stared at her, breathing heavy, trying to keep my feet planted. She glanced around, saw the broken plate and glass on the floor, and raised an eyebrow. What happened here? You throw yourself a little tantrum? She asked, all casual. Sit, I said. My voice was low, cold. She laughed under her breath. What? This supposed to be some kind of interrogation now? Don't be pathetic, Steve. I grabbed the burner phone off the counter and slid it across the table toward her. She looked down at it. Still calm. Still smug. Oh, she said, like she was looking at a grocery list. So you found that? That's it. That's all you've got to say? I asked, my hands clenched at my sides. She shrugged. I told you, you can't stop me. I needed more than what you were giving. I got tired of feeling invisible. Invisible? I shot back. You had everything. A home. A husband who loved you. Stability. I had boredom, she snapped, her voice sharp, full of venom. You think being married to you is some dream? You came home, ate dinner, watched the same shows, wore the same old shirts. You stopped being a man, Steve. You turned into furniture. I staggered back like she'd hit me with her fists. And Ryan, I said, my voice steady. He's your solution? A married guy with 2 kids going through a midlife crisis. She laughed, really laughed. Cold, sharp, cruel. He's more of a man than you ever were, she said. At least he knows how to make a woman feel alive. You made me feel trapped. There it was. The raw truth. No sugarcoating. Just venom. I met her gaze head on. You've been sleeping with him. In our house. In our bed. She didn't even blink. Didn't move. Sometimes, she said with a shrug. When the timing worked out. I could have lost it right then. Put my fist through a wall. Shouted until my throat gave out. But I didn't. Instead, I reached across the table, grabbed a folder, and slid it in front of her. She frowned. What's this? Divorce papers, I said. Filed yesterday. And before you get any ideas, yeah, I've got proof. Yeah, my lawyer has copies. And those beach photos of you and Ryan? They're gonna look real nice in court. For the first time, something flickered across her face. The smirk wavered, just for a moment. You're overreacting, she muttered. No, I said, calm and sure. I'm finally being the man you thought you broke. She stared at me like she was seeing someone she didn't know. And maybe, right then, she was. I grabbed my keys and walked past her without another word. Didn't look back. Didn't hesitate. As I reached the door, she called after me. You'll regret this. I stopped, just for a second. No, I said quietly. The only thing I regret is believing you were ever more than a lie dressed up as a wife. Then I stepped out, leaving her standing in the ruins she made. And for the first time in a long, long while, I didn't feel broken. I felt free. I didn't have a destination. I just drove, letting the road stretch out in front of me as the sun sank low, casting everything in a burning orange haze. No plan. Just movement. My hands gripped the wheel. The car did the rest. After a while, I pulled into a worn-down motel just off the highway. The kind of place with a flickering neon sign and curtains that looked like they'd seen better decades. It was exactly what I needed. A place that wouldn't ask any questions. The room smelled like bleach and old regrets. It was perfect. I tossed my bag onto the saggy motel bed and stood there, staring up at the ceiling fan spinning slow, like it was tired of caring. My phone buzzed over and over. Calls. Texts. All from Carol. The messages were a mess, pleading, blaming, flipping between memories and threats like she couldn't decide which lie to tell next. You don't have to do this. We can fix it. You're ruining your own life. This is your fault too. I made a mistake, but you pushed me there. That last one stuck like a splinter under the skin, not deep enough to cripple, but just enough to keep irritating you. I didn't answer. Instead, I blocked her number, dropped the phone on the dresser, and let the silence have the room. Around midnight, I stepped outside just to breathe. The air was thick and sticky, but at least it didn't lie to me. I sat on the curb, elbows resting on my knees, soaking in the stillness, the hollow ache, the bitter truth that the life I thought I had was nothing but smoke and mirrors. That's when Diane crossed my mind, Ryan's wife. I still had her number. After everything we'd shared that afternoon, all the ugly truths we unearthed, I figured the least I could do was check in. I shot her a simple text. "You okay?" She replied almost instantly. "No, but thank you for asking." We messaged for a while. Nothing heavy. Just two people clinging to whatever scraps of normalcy they had left while their worlds crumbled around them. She told me Ryan never came home. Sent her some vague text about needing space and asked her not to reach out. She was thinking about packing up the kids and heading to her sister's for a bit. Then she asked if Carol had said anything real, anything honest. I told her the truth. She said I'm furniture. Diane replied with a broken heart emoji, then followed up. "Sorry. That's cruel. You're not furniture, Steve. She's just broken in ways we'll never fully understand." And for some reason, those words stuck with me. Not a cure, but a stitch. Just enough to hold the wound closed so I wouldn't fall apart again. Over the next few days, we kept in touch. Small updates. Emotional check-ins. Nothing weird. Just human. Diane ended up filing for divorce too. Turns out Ryan had a second phone stashed in his gym bag. Same tricks. Same lies. Even lipstick on receipts. It was like they'd both read from the same damn handbook on betrayal. Back at the motel, I started picking up the pieces of my life. Slow. Quiet. Called my lawyer. Moved money. Shut down the joint accounts. Each step made it feel a little more real. A little more like mine. Then came the final slap, a certified letter from Carol's lawyer. Inside was a formal request for an amicable division of assets. She wanted spousal support. She'd even made a list of the things she wanted to keep. And right at the top of that list? The house. The house. The same house she used for her affair. The house where she stood and told me I couldn't stop her. The place where I built a life while she was busy building an escape plan. I actually laughed. Not a real laugh. More like a dry, broken sound that didn't even seem to come from me. I called my lawyer. "We're not being amicable," I said. "Not anymore." A few days later, she showed up. No text. No warning. Just a knock at the motel door like she still had a right to be there. I opened it slowly. She looked wrecked. No makeup. Dark circles under her eyes. Hair pulled back like she'd stopped pretending she had it together. "You really meant it," she said, her voice small. "Yeah," I said. "I did." She walked in without an invite, glancing around the room like it offended her. "This is where you're staying now? This is where I'm getting my life back?" She rolled her eyes. "You're being petty." "No," I said, crossing my arms. "You're being delusional. You think you can cheat, lie, humiliate me, and then just walk back and like we hit pause." Her voice rose. "I didn't think you'd get so dramatic. People make mistakes. Sleeping with someone for months isn't a mistake," I said. "That's a campaign." Silence stretched out between us. Then she dropped it. Quiet. Almost pitiful. "He doesn't even want me now." I blinked. "What?" "Ryan. After the trip got canceled, he said it was getting too serious. Told me I was acting crazy. Blocked me." I just stood there, letting her words settle like dust in an empty room. She wasn't sorry for what she did. She wasn't grieving us. She was just mad her backup plan bailed. "You know what's funny?" I said. "You torched your whole life for a guy who saw you as a weekend distraction. And now you're standing here, hoping I'll be the spare tire you fall back on." Tears welled up in her eyes, but I didn't feel anything. I was empty. "You need to leave," I said. "Steve, please," she whispered, her voice small. "I don't even know what I'm doing anymore." "Join the club," I said, pulling the door open wide. "Now get out, before I call the front desk." She hesitated there at the threshold, standing still like she was waiting for something. Maybe she thought I'd cave. Maybe she figured I'd show mercy, fall back into old habits. But she got none of that. Eventually, she turned and walked away. And for the first time since this nightmare kicked off, I closed the door behind her and didn't feel the urge to open it again. No second-guessing. No ache. Just a clean, solid finality. The next morning, sunlight slipped through the busted blinds, striping the cheap motel bed with dusty lines. The silence was thick, but different now. Not the heavy, lonely kind. This time, it felt like breathing space. Like something sacred. No buzzing phone. No lies hiding in text messages. No betrayal clinging to the air like perfume. I sat up and rubbed the back of my neck. Realized I'd slept a full 8 hours for the first time in weeks. The pressure in my chest hadn't disappeared, but it was lighter, peeling away in slow, steady layers. That afternoon, I packed my bag and checked out. No more hiding. No more limbo. Time to move forward, whatever that was going to look like. I didn't go back to the house. I'd already made up my mind it wasn't mine anymore. She poisoned it. Every wall, every room, soaked in lies. I didn't even want to fight for it. Let her have it. Let those walls remind her of the mess she made. Instead, I found a small apartment downtown. Nothing fancy. Clean, quiet, and, best of all, mine. Paid 6 months up front. Bought just the basics. A couch without memories. A bed untainted by betrayal. Furniture free of ghosts. Snapped a photo of the keys in my hand and sent it to Diane. She answered with a thumbs up and a heart. Funny thing, we started talking more. Not like two people clinging to the wreckage. More like two people remembering what it was like to have real conversations again. Ones that didn't feel forced. Some nights, we talked for hours. Not about them. We were past that. We talked about food, music, old stories from when life was simpler. About the quiet kind of hurt you get from being married to someone who stopped seeing you. And then, out of nowhere, she made me laugh again. That was something new. Something good. But just when life started to feel steady, Carol pulled one last stunt. She showed up at my office. No call. No appointment. Just barged in like she still had a right to be anywhere near me. My coworker buzzed in, sounding rattled. There's a woman here asking for you. Says it's urgent. I didn't even bother looking up. Tell her I'm dead. 5 minutes later, she was standing in my doorway anyway. Probably sweet-talked the front desk. Maybe lied. Wouldn't be the first time. I looked up. She had a manila folder in her hand, makeup smudged, eyes hollow. You've got 5 seconds, I said. I'm pregnant. The words hung there, thick and heavy like fog rolling in before a storm. For a second, I thought I misheard her. Say that again? She stepped inside, shut the door, and sat down like she still had a place in my world. I missed my period. Took a few tests. Went to the clinic. It's real, Steve. I leaned back, arms crossed, my voice colder than ice. Is it mine? She flinched like I'd slapped her. Don't say it like that. You slept with another man. Over and over. In our house. In our guest room. Don't stand there acting like you've earned the benefit of the doubt. I don't know yet, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. That's why I'm here. So what? You want me to hold your hand? Feel sorry for you. I didn't know who else to go to. Try Ryan, I snapped. Oh wait, you can't. He blocked you. She broke down crying again. But I stayed put. Didn't move. The man who used to hold her, comfort her, make excuses for her? He was gone. If it's yours, I'll need help, she whispered. If it's mine, I said flatly, you'll get what the law says you get. Nothing extra. And if it's not, well, you better hope it's not. She left without another word. No drama. No parting shot. Just the sour stench of regret trailing behind her like cheap perfume. I took the rest of the day off. Sat in my car, forehead pressed to the steering wheel, trying to remember the last time I felt safe with someone. Not just familiar, truly seen. Respected. Valued. It's funny how betrayal forces you to rethink every piece of your past. A week later, she sent a message. It's not yours. That was it. No apology. No explanation. Just 3 words, like she was crossing something off a list. I stared at the screen for a while. Then I deleted her number. That night, I called Diane. Hey, I said. Feel like grabbing dinner? No pressure. Just food. Some company. She didn't even hesitate. Yeah, I like that. When I hung up, I caught myself smiling. Not because everything was fixed, but because, for the first time in a long time, I wasn't bleeding anymore. Tomorrow, I'd wake up clean. Diane and I met at this little Italian place tucked between a used bookstore and a flower shop. The kind of spot you'd walk right past if you weren't looking for it. And somehow, that made it perfect. She showed up in a soft green sweater, no makeup, hair pulled back in a loose ponytail. No mask. No act. Just her. And for the first time in what felt like forever, I wasn't sitting across from someone trying to decode their face for hidden lies. I wasn't searching for red flags. I just saw her. And she smiled, really smiled, and pulled me into a hug that lasted long enough to mean something. It's been a while, she said. Too long. I replied. We didn't bring up Carol. Or Ryan. Not once. Instead, we talked about the little things. She told me how she used to play piano before the kids came along but hadn't touched a key in years. I told her about the time I wrecked my dad's car in high school and tried to cover it up until the neighbor's doorbell cam ratted me out. We laughed so hard the waiter stopped by twice to make sure we were all right. There was no pressure between us. No pretending. Just two people sharing space, trading stories, and stitching themselves back together, one small moment at a time. But somewhere in that calm, under the warm lights and soft music, I felt something pull at me. Not about her. About me. I hadn't really looked at myself since the whole world crumbled. I'd been reacting, surviving, drifting on autopilot. But who was I now? Without Carol. Without the man I used to be. The next morning, I ran. No plan. No thinking. Just woke up, pulled on an old hoodie, and hit the pavement. I ran through unfamiliar streets, past gas stations and sleeping parks, lungs burning, legs screaming. I ran until my mind finally shut up, until it was just me and the road. And when I finally stopped, soaked in sweat, chest heaving, I felt alive. It wasn't peace. Not yet. But it was something close. Later that week, an unknown number popped up on my phone. I almost let it ring out. Honestly, I should have. But I answered. Steve, she said, her voice small and thin. Carol, I said back, my voice flat as stone. I'm in therapy now, she said. Good for you. I needed to say I'm sorry. For everything. I'm not asking for forgiveness, but I had to say it. There was a long stretch of silence. I let it hang there. I don't hate you, I said finally. But I don't care anymore. You didn't just destroy our marriage, you numbed me to everything it ever meant. She sniffled. I deserve that. Yeah, I said. You do. I hope you find whatever it is you've been chasing. I will, she whispered. And then the call ended. No shouting. No drama. Just the quiet, overdue end of a chapter that should have closed long ago. In the weeks that followed, things shifted. Diane and I started spending more time together. Dinner here and there. Long walks through quiet streets. A weekend trip to the mountains with her kids. We didn't rush anything. We weren't trying to patch holes. We were just there. Side by side. Healing together. One night, we lay on a blanket under the stars. Her youngest was asleep in the back seat. The night was still and soft. Do you ever think, she said, her voice low, that maybe the pain had a purpose? I thought about all of it. The betrayal, the loneliness, the nights in that motel when it felt like my life was in pieces. Yeah, I said. It taught me how blind I'd been. And how much stronger I am now. She nodded. Same here. We didn't say I love you. Not yet. But it was there. In the way she reached for my hand. In the way I held it, not wanting to let go. Seasons changed. I left the apartment behind and moved into a new place. Modest. Comfortable. But the morning light poured in just right, and there was laughter in the walls now. Not silence. Betrayal was just a scar, not a fresh wound anymore. I didn't think about Carol much. Heard she moved to a new city. Got a new job. Started over. Good for her. I didn't hate her. I just didn't care. And that was peace. If I could tell anyone walking through their own fire something, it'd be this. You'll survive. It'll tear you apart. You'll bleed. You'll scream into the dark. You'll lose pieces of yourself you thought would never break. But on the other side of it all, you'll find someone stronger, smarter, free. And one day, when you're not even expecting it, you'll laugh again. And it won't be hollow. It'll be real. Almost a year later, by accident, I passed our old house. Took a wrong turn heading to a meeting, and there it was, same beige paint, same navy shutters. But the yard was overgrown. Weeds spilled over the sidewalk. The rosebush I used to trim every Saturday? Half dead and brown. The whole place looked abandoned. Or maybe just unloved. I parked across the street and sat there, engine idling, radio off. From my spot, I could see the bedroom window, the one where I used to brush my teeth while Carol curled her hair. The same window she later locked when she didn't want me to know what was going on inside. But I didn't feel anger, just distance, detachment. Like I was looking at the final page of someone else's story. Eventually, I drove away. That night, I told Diane where I'd gone. She didn't say much, just listened, nodding now and then, her eyes soft and steady. Then she reached across the table and gave my hand a squeeze. I'm glad that house isn't yours anymore, she said. Yeah, I answered. Me too. Later that night, after her kids were tucked into bed, we sat curled up on the couch under a blanket. The The silence between us wasn't heavy like it used to be. It was full, comfortable, like a space we both fit into without trying. "Do you think you'll ever get married again?" she asked, kind of out of the blue. I sat with it for a second, not because I didn't know, but because I wanted to get it right. "If the right woman's already sitting next to me," I said slowly. "Then yeah, someday." She smiled and rested her head against my shoulder. "Good answer." I kissed the top of her head. "Some scars don't disappear. They just fade, become part of your skin, not your story." A few months later, an invitation showed up in the mail. Wedding. One of Carol's old friends. Still followed me on social media for reasons I'll never understand. Inside was a picture, Carol in the background at the engagement party, standing beside a guy I didn't know, half smiling like she was trying to convince herself everything was fine. Her eyes looked tired. Her smile didn't reach. I tossed the invite in the trash. Not out of bitterness. Just because it didn't matter anymore. What I had now, this mattered. I didn't just survive her betrayal. I rebuilt from it. And not just moved on. I leveled up. There was a moment that stuck with me not long after. Diane's youngest daughter called me Dad. It slipped out by accident. We were in the cereal aisle at the grocery store. She asked if we could get the marshmallow cereal. And she said it, quiet, natural. "Dad, can we get this one?" Her cheeks turned red right away, and she glanced up, waiting for me to correct her. But I didn't. I just smiled and said, "Yeah, let's get that one." And that's when it hit me. The life I thought ended the day Carol zipped up that red suitcase. It wasn't over. It was just starting. Not because I forgot the pain, but because I let it shape me, rebuild me, remind me who I was supposed to be all along. So if you're reading this and you're standing in the middle of your own wreckage, here's what I'll tell you. You won't be okay right away. You'll break. You'll question everything. Some mornings, you'll wake up and not recognize the man in the mirror. But one day, when you're not even looking for it, the weight will lift. You'll look at yourself and see someone again. Maybe not the man you were, but a better one. And you'll realize, she didn't break you. She revealed you. The last real thread tying me to the past snapped on a random Thursday. I was clearing out a storage box I'd shoved deep into the back of my closet, full of the old life. Vacation receipts. Love notes Carol wrote back when she still knew how. Ticket stubs. Photos. So many damn photos. One stopped me. Us, standing in front of a waterfall. Her arms wrapped around me like I was her whole world. What a performance. But I didn't cry. I didn't even feel sad. I felt clear. I tossed the whole box in the trash. Not out of hate. Not out of anger. Just because I finally saw it for what it was. Those memories weren't real. They were stories I was sold. Stories I bought into. The real story, the one I lived, is something entirely different. Carol didn't destroy me. She uncovered me.